Welcome to Fixing Blade Runner. Now you might be thinking, what's wrong with Blade Runner? It's a classic, it doesn't need fixing. It's a classic, and obviously I'm gonna fix Blade Runner. That's the point of this video. I'm not gonna... Clearly I'm gonna fix... Blade Runner is genius, right? It's about a detective...
The old Blade Runner.
...who has to kill some robots.
6 replicants.
And he does it. No, the delivery of it is what's incredible. It's got all the possible metaphors in there. All of the metaphors. Eyes.
The eyeball, the only relevance to that might be a little bit Orwellian, which would be the idea of Big Brother.
Polaroids, messianic imagery.
The nail is thought of pretty well on the spot. And you give yourself adrenaline to stay alive by driving something through your hand.
Drinking, mirrors, chess.
I had to have someone work it out so that it all makes sense, because I haven't got the patience for chess.
Overconsumption.
And really, whether it's about imperialism or communism, they're really fundamentally one and the same thing, aren't they?
Animals.
Philip Dick has this bizarre detail. You could actually afford to have a biomechanoid animal. A whatever it is, biochemistry, not biological, and it's hard to fathom.
It's got all of the metaphors, they're all in there, and none of them mean anything.
So it kind of works, I think, but if you actually sit and really think about it, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Right?
But really the most interesting part is the contrast between Harrison Ford and the replicants, and he sort of relearns his humanity through his interactions with these robots. And by the end of the movie, the protagonist and antagonist role have almost switched, so it's great, or whatever. But there is a bit of a problem. The original version had this terrible voiceover that Harrison Ford didn't want to do, and you can almost even hear it in his voice.
They don't advertise for killers in a newspaper.
And the final cut has all the great changes that you would want in a remaster. The wires have been removed, the colors being graded, shots have been extended, but unfortunately Ridley Scott got a little bit of George Lucas disease at the end there, and he decided to add in a subplot where Harrison Ford is secretly a replicant. Now, remember all that stuff about humanity and protagonists and antagonists from 30 seconds ago? If you make Harrison Ford a secret replicant, you completely negate all of that. And if he was supposed to be a replicant all along, he eats shit over and over throughout the movie, so he is the worst replicant. Narratively, it never existed. Thematically, it's counterproductive, and logically, it doesn't work. Now, I'm not saying that I have better judgment than Sir Ridley Scott, director of Alien and Blade Runner, but I think I am uniquely qualified to criticize him, given my experience not directing Robin Hood.
Don't be ridiculous.
Or any of his other movies. So, why would Ridley Scott, visionary director of The Counselor, decide to add this? So the animatronics that they used for the replicants had these really reflective eyes. I guess that was just all that was available. It's a real shame because it makes it very easy to tell the humans and replicants apart, which kind of ruins the point of the movie, but there's this one shot where Harrison Ford's eyes are reflecting, but it's just a mistake. Ridley Scott saw this shot, and it absolutely fucked his brain up. It's just a mistake. Look at this, right? Grab a little light off to the side of the camera here, and grab a piece of glass, and you reflect that light into your actor's eyes. And Harrison Ford just walked into a shot that was meant for Sean Young. So it would be a pretty easy fix to make. We'd just paint out those dots on his eyes. But before we get rid of those, let's just hear what Ridley Scott has to say about it.
You know, the retina is way stronger than 3M. You know that material called 3M? Well, your retina is way more sophisticated than that.
Okay, so we're just going to get rid of those. So let's say you are Ridley Scott and you just saw that shot of Harrison Ford's eyes and it absolutely fucked up your brain. You've got the George Lucas disease and you must add a subplot about Harrison Ford being a secret replicant. How do you do it? Well, basically what you do is you take this one scene here and you edit it so it looks like he plays an A on the piano, falls asleep and starts dreaming of some B-roll from the movie Legend. Originally here, he's thinking about replicants' memories and looking at these photos. Actually, by the way, this Polaroid is meant to be a printout of this screen, which they changed the screen for the final cut, and I guess just forgot to change the Polaroid, so we're just gonna do that. And we're gonna remove this fucking unicorn scene. We're gonna add back the original footage, grade that to match, just with curves. I know people who use color wheels for grading, and they're all cowards. Really, the only other problem with the movie is just all of the scenes with Harrison Ford and Sean Young. It's ostensibly a romance subplot, but I guess on set they hated each other, and Sir Ridley Scott, director of G.I. Jane, has the emotional intelligence of a rat. And not even a real rat. Trevor the Rat from Meet the Feebles.
Alright, you fat slag, move your ass!
I don't even know what those references are. I just googled bad Ridley Scott movie and degenerate anthropomorphic rat, and that finished that sentence. Now when they did the color grade for the final cut, they got a bit of Zack Snyder disease and decided to make everything blue and green, and they did a soft clip on everything, which is okay. It works pretty good most of the time. Where it really doesn't work is in these romance subplot scenes. To have the color so grimy and bleak, it makes the audience think that this situation is grimy and bleak, which it is, but right now we're just gonna warm it up. I can't just go back to the original grade or it would be obviously inconsistent.
It's stylistically designed to be that way, and you can't undo that, but we can diminish the effects of it.
So what I'm gonna do is take the original and grade that to match the final cut, and then I'm gonna dial that back to the to halfway between the. Anyway, we get something that's halfway between the two. After this scene where he tests the color of her eyes and finds out that they're green. Wait a second. Zoom, enhance. Oh my god. She sneaks up on him in the elevator, and he's pissed off by this. And she's concerned about being a replicant, and he's pissed. He's pissed off again by this. Still. And she's concerned about being a replicant, and he slams the door on her. And then he opens it again and lets her in. So let's just cut out most of that. So now it plays pretty much how it plays in the script. She's concerned about being a replicant. He opens the door and charges off to get a drink. And that's fine. It works for both of their characters, and it removes this unneeded hostility that does a lot of damage to their relationship going forward.
I don't know why he told you what he did.
Want a drink?
Harrison Ford is still playing this whole scene pissed off, but I think it's good. I'm gonna leave it, because as a character, he is kind of meant to be a
You're not a replicant. Go home.
a cunt. She saves his life. He receives orders to kill her, and they return to the apartment, and he's pissed again. Pretty easy fix, we just have to fuck up the timing of this scene. And yeah, now look at that, he looks thoughtful, almost. And I'm gonna add back this deleted scene where she takes the drink out of his hands while he's passed out, and it's a nice little moment. It's maybe the warmest interaction between the two of them, or, well, between the one of them, I guess, because he's not conscious for it, but now, there's just one scene left to fix, so let's not do that, and let's do some other shit. Look at this shot. You're probably thinking, what the hell's going on with that parallax? Which is a great point, actually. And I think they fucked it up in the remaster by having this 2D zoom that moves in 3D space. But it's a pretty easy fix. All we have to do is make this shot slightly worse. There's this really great scene at the end of the movie, and it's all in slow motion, but not like the cool slow motion that everyone loves, but 80s slow motion where they've just halved the frame rate. So we can just use the magic of computers and interpolate that, I guess. That's okay, that's fine. Actually, maybe that's worse. I am really ill-equipped to deal with this. What's intended to be a love scene has Harrison Ford fairly disturbingly forcing himself on Sean Young here. So let's brighten up the grade a little. She tries to leave, he slams the door, forces her up against the wall, kisses her, there's dialogue. Vangelis is working overtime here to get something out of this.
So, Vangelis, did you enjoy that?
Not me.
No. It's the correct answer. Well done, Vangelis.
So I'm going to keep the music and the ambient track of the surround sound and just absolutely butcher the rest of this scene. But before we cut any of this, maybe the point of the movie is that Harrison Ford is a sex offender. So let's hear what Sir Ridley Scott, visionary director of Exodus, Gods and Kings, has to say about it.
And I said, if I'm going to do a film once about justification of sex, you'll really get it, okay? It'll be better than anything made in the Valley, mate. So until I find that, it's kind of, to use the English expression, it's a wank off, okay?
So we're just cutting all that. And none of that, by the way, is even in the shooting script. Now we're left with a bit of a problem. How do you transition from this location to this location without the footage that gets us there? I'm going to use a little trick I learned from visionary director J.J. Abrams. You just do it. You just do it and you hope that no one notices. So then I added this lens flare from earlier and some light from the blinds onto his face here to kind of sell that transition. I mean, I'm sold. Then all that's left to do is retime it so it looks like she's at least kind of okay with being there, and there we go. Now it's just one of those classic iffy Harrison Ford 80s love scenes. I tried to keep my changes to little tweaks, things to bring it back more in line with the original script, with the original vision. It's still weird, Harrison Ford's still a cunt, it's still got all that symbolism in it, and hopefully this is the version of Blade Runner that you can show people who haven't seen Blade Runner before. Because I can't think of any other demographic who would want to see this. Now you might be thinking, that didn't fix anything. There's nothing wrong with Blade Runner. It's a classic. You didn't fix anything. And yeah, I can't control who's allowed on YouTube, which is a shame actually. If you are some kind of Ridley Scott loving sycophant, I'm sorry. And I don't have any immediate plans. So I will be online and available for targeted harassment. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next week when I will be fixing Citizen Kane by removing all of the subtext.